What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy, Corey Tulaba from No Ceilings. Welcome to our February NBA mock draft. We're going to cover the first round today. The way that we run this at No Ceilings is the crew gets together. We do a war room style mock. Whoever gets the most votes win for every team. So these are not necessarily my personal picks or what I would do, but this is a reflection of the whole team. If you want to check out the entire first and second round, make sure you go to NoCeilingsNBA.com. But without further ado, let's get right into the mock, starting with the number 1 overall pick, the Washington Wizards. With the first pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Washington Wizards select Cooper Flagg out of Duke. What if you were told that Cooper Flagg is being underrated as a prospect? Will this take me crucified? I could not care less. Early in the season, people had often pointed out too much at the things Flagg struggled with and not enough on his accomplishments as a reclassified freshman. It's important to remind ourselves that Flagg should be a senior in high school right now. Sure, he didn't have the flawless start of the season that some were expecting. This isn't to ignore that, but to highlight how he has responded since. Duke's played 23 games this season, and in his last 13 games, he shot the ball way better with splits of 52, 46, 84. After the slow start with his shooting, giving him credit for working on his shot and increasing his efficiency is crucial. Before that recent stretch of games, he had been shooting 22% from 3 and under 43% from the field overall. The handle was a concern early on, and his lack of elite, top-notch athleticism has also been mentioned as a potential weakness of his. His handle isn't Kyrie's, and he's not the athlete that Amen Thompson is, but he's a genius operator on the floor, operating at an extremely high level without a true point guard. Duke relies on Flagg to make all the tough decisions, to be their best defender, and lead them in scoring every night. Maybe it's time to focus on what he can do, less on what he can't. He's an elite competitor who's very aware of his flaws and seems to be improving upon them already during his freshman season. With the second pick, the New Orleans Pelicans select Dylan Harper out of Rutgers. The mock draft really starts here, as Cooper Flagg is widely regarded as the presumed number 1 pick. The Pelicans desperately need a direction for a few reasons. The Zion Williamson saga is taking another undesirable turn. Dyson Daniels is gaining some significant notoriety in Atlanta, while DeJounte Murray is out for the foreseeable future with a ruptured Achilles. All of that has led to New Orleans duking it out with Utah for worst in the West. Fans of the Pelicans need a win. Dylan Harper is that win. Listed at 6'5", Harper has the sort of size, strength, and savvy that NBA teams desire in their lead creator. Dylan plays with a herky-jerky style, which allows him to get to his spots with ease. He sees the court remarkably well, and he could play away from the ball. This is the position and type of player that this team has needed, and for a team that is oozing with length and defense, they now take Harper to organize their roster. With the third pick, the Utah Jazz are on the clock, selecting Dylan Harper's teammate out of Rutgers, Ace Bailey. Bailey doesn't solve this team's need for a more traditional lead creator like Harper or Yakachonis or even Yegor Demon might, but he is the biggest swing that the Jazz can take. This front office has a history of being patient, focusing on upside, and taking the biggest draft swing possible. While Bailey has his shortcomings, there are still plenty of outcomes where he's the best player in this draft. At 6'10", Bailey possesses a shot-making arsenal that no one else in this class touches. On top of that, we're seeing Bailey's scoring efficiency and shot selection improve significantly now that he's being used as more of an off-ball scorer and not being forced into more of a primary creator role. Bailey will struggle a lot if he's asked to act as a primary creator, but when used as a secondary or even a tertiary offensive option, Bailey has been absolutely lethal. On top of his unique offensive upside, Bailey is also a very good rebounder and is rapidly growing into a good defender. Bailey's a classic example of please don't overthink this. He isn't a perfect player by any means, but when you look at what he can do instead of what he can't, he's still clearly one of the elite prospects in this draft class. With the fourth pick, the Charlotte Hornets are on the clock. They select VJ Edgecombe out of Baylor. It's been a year full of injuries for the Hornets, and although Brandon Miller looks to be a rising star for the franchise moving forward, the Hornets still need to continue to add pieces to the roster to raise the ceiling of their potential. Baylor freshman VJ Edgecombe got off to a slow start this year, but he has started to look sensational as of late. The versatile guard has started to look like the player we saw this season when he was sending a statement with his play for the Bahamas. Edgecombe is a freak of nature, top-tier type of athlete. He's a potential two-way monster with playmaking ability that looks like it's starting to rise to the surface. If the outside shot can become more consistent, which it has as the season has gone along, Edgecombe has the tools to be a fantastic get at this point of the draft. Adding him to the perimeter alongside the likes of Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball gives the Hornets a serious boost moving forward. With the 5th pick, the Toronto Raptors select Kaman Malawach out of Duke, the 7'2", 250-pound big man. As any franchise selecting in the top 5 should, Toronto is swinging for the fences here. There's no doubt that Malawach has one of the highest ceilings in the class because of that unteachable frame. The mobile big man brings immediate value as a massive play finisher and rim deterrent, alongside enticing flashes of some post skill and touch flashes. Questions remain about how much of a project Malawach could be, but his potential is worthy of an upside swing. His tools and projectable role also align with Toronto's needs. With the 6th pick, the Brooklyn Nets select Kasparis Yakachonis out of Illinois. The Brooklyn Nets are in need of a lead guard of the future, and Yakachonis fits that mold with his combination of poise, playmaking, and methodical approach to the game. The freshman isn't the flashiest creator, but his herky-jerky style, strong frame, and ability to play at his own pace make him a tough cover. He thrives in pick-and-roll situations, using creative footwork to create space for his jumper and keeping defenders off balance with well-timed start-stops. While he lacks elite first-step burst, his ability to read the floor and manipulate defenses with quick decision-making, whether through a rescreen, a paint touch, or a pull-up, makes him an effective offensive engine. He can be prone to over-dribbling at times and has a tendency to often get himself stuck in the paint, forcing difficult pivot-heavy escapes. Defensively, Yakachonis is a bit of a mixed bag. He's a disciplined on-ball defender who sits in his stance, plays with physicality, and really navigates screens well. However, his lack of lateral quickness can be exposed when defending in space, and he sometimes stays too attached off the ball instead of sinking into help. Despite these concerns, his toughness and intelligence should make him a solid team defender with shades of Brandon Pajemski and D'Angelo Russell in his game. His feel for the game and playmaking ability could give Brooklyn the steady floor general that they've been missing. At number 7, the Oklahoma City Thunder select Yegor Demon out of BYU. The Thunder front office has laid out a very successful blueprint for building a young contender that has room to grow and improve over time. The franchise has prioritized players at every position who can dribble, pass, shoot, and defend. While a few of those boxes remain unchecked for Demon, as it stands today, he's a high upside creator wing with some of the best vision in college basketball, period. Demon can make more difficult reads out of pick and roll with soft touch and well-timed deliveries on his passes. Still growing into his frame and becoming a better scorer and defender, Demon has the type of future the Thunder front office has bet on time and time again in the draft. If Demon is still available at this pick, he feels like the most Thunder prospect left on the board. At number 8, the Chicago Bulls select Trey Johnson out of Texas. The Bulls didn't blow it up completely at the trade deadline as they held on to Nikola Vucevic, among others, but they did finally decide to trade away Zach LaVine to Sacramento at the trade deadline, following the sign and trade of DeMar DeRozan to the same Sacramento Kings in the offseason. After those moves, they could stand to replenish their offense and their shooting in particular. Enter Trey Johnson, one of the best shooters and bucket getters in this class. Johnson isn't anywhere close to LaVine's level as an athlete. Pretty much nobody is, to be fair, but Johnson's smooth handle, overall combo guard skill set, and excellent shooting touch and range give him the potential to be the next bright star for a team in need of fresh faces alongside Modest Buzelis. At number 9, the Portland Trailblazers select Noah Asenge of Ratio Farm. The Blazers have a ton of young talent that are starting to figure out a pecking order. Scoot has really turned it around as of late. Tumani Kamara has blossomed into a reliable and impactful rotational player. Shaedon Sharpe is second on the team in scoring. Donovan Clingan has shown the level of efficiency and defensive prowess that many were high on. Not to mention, their vets are all mostly contributing at a solid level. It feels like this team can continue their draft philosophy of going with upside. Noah Asenge fits that bill. That's not to say that he isn't producing already. Listed at 6'10", Asenge is averaging 12 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, and 2 stocks per game. He's also a really good athlete to boot. He's converted on 48 of 51 dunk attempts, grades in the 74th percentile at the rim, and is in the 89th percentile on 72 transition opportunities. He's definitely a little skinny, but Portland has some forward depth that can allow him to build his strength and grow acclimated to NBA physicality as he matures into his frame. At number 10, the San Antonio Spurs select Derek Queen out of Maryland. The Spurs continue to build out their future with high feel, skilled prospects, and Derek Queen fits the mold as a versatile offensive hub who's a seamless complement in the front court next to Victor Wembanyama. The Maryland freshman boasts impressive touch, converting nearly 70% of his attempts at the rim across multiple levels, while also flashing mid-range shot-making ability and soft free throw touch. Though his three-point volume and effectiveness are less than ideal, his footwork, craft, and ability to create gravity in the post make him a tough interior scorer. Queen is also a high-level playmaker for a big, showcasing quick decision-making and precise ball placement to lead teammates into easy scoring opportunities, though his ambition can certainly lead to careless turnovers. Queen's most underrated skill, though, lies in his ability to
initiate offense from the top of the key, use his slick handle to get downhill, and create self-generated looks at the rim. His ability to create second chance points as a strong offensive rebounder only adds to that value. Defensively, Queen is a mixed bag. He's incredibly difficult to move in the post and has quick hands to disrupt plays. His effort can admittedly be a little inconsistent. He also lacks the vertical pop to be a true rim protector. However, he has super fluid hips and the agility which allows him to hold his own on the perimeter in switch situations, giving him more defensive versatility than it may appear despite his perceived athletic limitations. Queen is no doubt a funky player, but we've seen these types of guys thrive in the league. His skill set is reminiscent of an Alperen Şengün mixed with a little bit of Boris Diaw. With the 11th pick and the Spurs back on the clock, they select Derek Queen's former Montverde teammate Liam McNeely out of UConn. As the Spurs continue to build around Wembanyama, Castle, and newly acquired point guard De'Aaron Fox, the need for size, length, and shooting around that trio becomes a top priority moving forward for the franchise. The good news is that multiple star building blocks are in place, so finding the best available talent to fill out those margins becomes easier than trying to shape an identity without those pillars already in place. Liam McNeely can play off any pick-and-roll combination as a spot-up shooter who can get his shot up over bigger wing defenders. He's incredibly competitive, and he has the type of mindset required to compete for a championship down the road. There's room for him to grow as a live dribble threat, but he brings enough to the table as a shooter and downhill scorer out of ball screens in the short term to earn a rotation spot and contribute immediately. At number 12, the Houston Rockets select Colin Murray-Boyles out of South Carolina. The Rockets are one of the hottest teams in the NBA and are deep across several positions. Their top 3 pick from last season, Reed Shepherd, has had a hard time seeing the court due to this depth and their success. And for a coach like Ime Udoka, a rookie is going to have to possess some combination of physicality, skill, and maturity to crack the rotation. South Carolina's Colin Murray-Boyles checks those boxes. A modern-day Paul Millsap-esque CMB is listed at 6'8" and fills up the box score. A lot of people view him as a bruiser, but Murray-Boyles has the skill to take larger front court players to the perimeter and beat them off the bounce. Defensively, Colin Murray-Boyles boasts a steal percentage of 3, a block percentage of 4.6, a guy who can really slide and body up down low. The Rockets do have some depth along their front court, but CMB gives them flexibility in case of injuries, trade, or even some small ball lineups that can be built around defense. At pick 13, the Atlanta Hawks select Asa Newell out of Georgia. The Hawks are in a bit of a tricky spot as they pivoted more towards a rebuild with their trade deadline approach. With that said, they still have a lot of encouraging young pieces to build around, most of whom have positional size, length, and athleticism. They seem to have a type, which Newell fits like a glove. At a minimum, Newell provides solid rebounding and a ton of defensive versatility, quality play finishing, and intelligent passing. The skill set combined with his size and athleticism gives him a floor of at least being a rotation player. When we look at how he could improve, though, the upside is pretty exciting. Newell's yet to prove that he's a reliable shooter, but his mechanics and willingness in spot-up and pick-and-pop situations are pretty encouraging. He also gets a bad rap for not being a true center, but I'm not sure that entirely matters. If he bulks up and is able to play a little more physically, then more center minutes should be a strong possibility. Even if he doesn't, his defensive versatility on the perimeter, his motor, and instincts still make him an easy option at the 4. Rolling out a defensive lineup of Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson, Zachary Richeche, and Asa Newell sounds incredibly fun, and that's ignoring what Newell can grow into on the offensive end, giving his shooting and passing potential. At number 14, the Miami Heat select Jeremiah Fears out of Oklahoma. Fears' surprise instant production and dynamic play as one of the youngest players in college basketball sparked his meteoric rise into a legit lottery talent with tremendous upside. He's an explosive and creative shot creator with natural scoring instincts, shot-making versatility, playmaking upside, and defensive tools. There may not be a better landing spot for Fears to maximize his talent while learning how to become a longtime pro, both on and off the floor, than Miami. It wasn't too long ago, after all, that the Heat struck gold by drafting another young guard from Illinois in Dwayne Wade. At number 15, the Orlando Magic select Rasheer Fleming out of St. Joe's. Play the song. The Orlando Magic have had to deal with a bit of an injury bug this year, but they are still going to be a team that continues to be on the rise in the Eastern Conference. Orlando looks to have found another great piece in rookie forward Tristan da Silva. As of now, the team looks to have a pick that could have some intriguing names on the board to continue to build depth on this roster of assets. Rasheer Fleming has been one of the most impressive breakout players in college basketball this year. Fleming's built like a truck at 6'9", 240, and he stands out with freakish length with a rumored 7'4" wingspan and floor spacing upside. For a team like the Magic, Fleming would give them a tough-minded two-way forward with some positional versatility. Sometimes, fit becomes even more exciting for teams on the rise, like the Magic. Fleming would fit perfectly with the direction this roster's heading in as Orlando continues to solidify their place in the Eastern Conference hierarchy. At number 16, the Oklahoma City Thunder select Danny Wolf out of Michigan. The Thunder clearly have a type, and it's players with high IQ and a ton of versatility. Danny Wolf is the epitome of this archetype this year. After being a more traditional big man who could facilitate from the post and elbows and occasionally stretch the floor with Yale, Wolf has transformed into a de facto point guard for Michigan. Wolf showcased tremendous agility and footwork for his size on both ends of the court, along with a unique offensive skill set. Wolf has experienced some issues with ball security and shooting consistency, but I'm willing to forgive that given his pick-and-roll ball handler possessions have jumped by 20% in frequency. Wolf's skill set makes him incredibly malleable with a myriad of rotations. By joining the Thunder, Wolf would provide them with more front court depth without deviating from the requirement of being able to dribble, pass, and shoot. At number 17, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Thomas Sorber out of Georgetown. With Sorber, the Timberwolves select their big of the future, whose NBA positional size, 6'10", 255, and skill set can make him an immediate impact alongside their current frontcourt mix led by Gobert, McDaniels, Reed, and Randall. Sorber's combination of high motor, feel, and defensive playmaking gives him the ingredients to become an impactful rotation big with the upside for more, especially if his touch flashes continue to progress. His grit, competitive spirit, and activity perfectly fit Minnesota's defensive approach and culture. At number 18, the Dallas Mavericks select Con Knippel out of Duke. The Dallas Mavericks had an eventful trade deadline, to say the least, and the new look squad could use a bit more firepower by taking Duke's Con Knippel. Knippel didn't shoot the ball well early on, but his excellent touch and versatility could lead to a breakout at the right time on the ramp up to March Madness, especially since that shot has started to tick upward in recent weeks. While Knippel's defense is probably best labeled as average at best, and therefore doesn't conform to Nico Harrison's recently stated belief in defense winning championships, he does have good size and competes on that end. Knippel's shooting and playmaking would be a boost to a Dallas team with plenty of offensive question marks now going forward on the fringes. At number 19, the Brooklyn Nets, back on the clock, select Carter Bryant out of Arizona. The Nets are going to be one of the most interesting teams to monitor in this draft. After a bundle of trades, Brooklyn finds itself rich in assets. This is where a front office should try to put a stamp on a rebuild. The Nets can go in a number of directions with this much capital. They can afford to take a couple of swings, or they can try to add some pieces to start to form an identity on this roster moving forward. Despite the lack of production, mostly due to minutes, Arizona freshman forward Carter Bryant should have a bundle of fans in NBA front offices. Bryant has been fantastic for Arizona when he's been on the court, standing out with his ability to make winning plays. The flashes and upside are fantastic, and Bryant would find himself in the lottery conversation if the situation and minutes were different. Bryant has been a popular late bloomer in scouting circle, and he's been a dark horse to keep an eye on moving forward. For a team like Brooklyn, Bryant would be a heck of a get, given that tremendous untapped potential. At number 20, with Oklahoma City, again back on the clock, they select Ben Saraf out of Ratio Farm Ulm. Along the same lines of the dribble, pass, shoot, and defend ideology, Ben Saraf being available in this range would likely put a big smile on Sam Presti's face as he continues to put this franchise in position to win big for years. OKC has a number of guards that work well, both with and without the ball in their hands, but Saraf is a bit bigger at 6'5", 6'6" in the backcourt, allowing him to slide a bit up in the lineup and guard on the wing if necessary. As a pull-up scorer, Saraf has a lot of craft to get into his spots and into his shots and make defenders pay, even if that shot is, at this point, inconsistent to say the least. As he continues to grow as a playmaker with more on-ball reps, the overseas guard could wind up as a valuable rotation piece or even a trade chip down the road. The Utah Jazz are on the clock at pick 21, and they select Nolan Traore out of St. Quentin. Traore's stock has fallen off since he was seen as a potential top 5 pick before the season started, but he'd be an excellent fit here for Utah. While his shot hasn't fallen at an encouraging rate, he's been more efficient in recent weeks. He's also one of the best playmakers in the class, mixing a high level of feel for the game as a teenage point guard with a potent first step that gives him an early advantage when it comes to dicing up defenses off the dribble. If his shot comes around, Traore could be a steal falling to the bottom of the first round. At number 22, the Indiana Pacers select Nick Clifford out of Colorado State. Clifford would be an excellent addition to any team, but specifically would be great on the Pacers. Clifford is a do-it-all guard/forward who can guard multiple spots, is really good at attacking the rim getting downhill, and is a growing outside shooter. Nick has not been the best from the outside, but he's taken a lot more this season and exudes much more confidence from out there. His elite rebounding ability at that wing spot is the skill that'll have teams falling in love with him. Clifford is currently averaging nearly 10 rebounds per game, and when you turn on the film, you can see what a demon he is on the boards. The man boards like it's his sole mission in life. On top of all that, he's also a terrific passer that you can trust to make good decisions coming off ball screens. Nick is an incredible support player that anyone would enjoy playing with. He's selfless, doesn't need the ball in his hands, and will always find a way to impact the game. Clifford will have to continue to work on that outside shot, but he's already shown a lot of growth in that area and is taking more per game this season, which is always a good sign. At number 23, the Brooklyn Nets are back on the clock, and they select Hugo Gonzalez out of Real Madrid. The Nets add another high-energy wing to their young core with Gonzalez, a relentless downhill attacker with defensive upside. While his EuroLeague minutes have been limited due to Real Madrid's stacked veteran roster of ex-NBA players, Gonzalez has shown flashes of dynamic shot-making and aggressive rim pressure in youth competitions. His three-point shooting numbers don't jump off the page, but his mechanics, balanced base, quick high release, and clean follow-through suggest some long-term potential. His finishing is where he truly shines. He converted nearly 69% of his overall attempts and 61% in the half court at the U18 level. With a quick first step, strong frame, and the ability to mix in Euro steps, hop steps, and off-foot finishes, Gonzalez is a nightmare in transition and a strong cutter in the half court. His self-creation mostly comes out of ball screens where he uses a sharp left-to-right crossover and snatch back to create separation, but his decision-making as a passer does still need some work. Defensively, Gonzalez has real upside, particularly as a playmaker. His instincts off the ball are exceptional, racking up stocks at a high rate by timing rotations well and using active hands to disrupt passing lanes. On the ball, he's a strong lateral mover who plays with his chest and length. Gonzalez's screen navigation, both on and off the ball, does need some improvement, and he has a habit of biting on pump fakes. Still, his nonstop motor and defensive activity give him an intriguing floor as a role player, with shades of Christian Braun's two-way grit and Benedict Matherin's aggressive scoring mindset. At number 24, the Atlanta Hawks are back on the clock, and they select Miles Bird out of San Diego State. Is there any better fit for a guy with the last name Bird landing with the Hawks? Seriously, Miles Bird is good, and Atlanta needs to add some talent. After trading away shooting in DeAndre Hunter and Bogdanovic, Bird gives them someone who averages 35% from deep on over 12 attempts per 100 possession and is converting 84% from the line. More importantly, Bird also provides insane defensive output. The Birdman is a block percentage of 4.7 and steal percentage of 4. Bird allows Atlanta to be a very versatile in the 2 through 4 positions. He's listed at 6'7", has a bit of a handle. The Hawks could be very switchable by putting Miles in lineups featuring Ricochet, Daniels, and Johnson. At number 25, the Orlando Magic select Maxime Reynaud out of Stanford. By the time the draft comes around, this might be a name that might not be available at this pick. With his fluid athleticism and production on the college level, there is a very real world where he starts sniffing around the teens. He's averaging 20 points and 12 rebounds a game while carrying a heavy load on both ends of the floor. He exhibits a ton of functional athleticism and flexibility. He moves super well for a guy his size. He's also a rabid rebounder on both the offensive and defensive boards. Renaud has been the leading scorer for Stanford all season long, and his ability to score with touch and strength around the basket has been great to watch. He can finish over either shoulder and does a great job using his length to finish over defenders. And his ability to potentially stretch the floor should be enticing for NBA teams. At number 26, the Brooklyn Nets, back on the clock, select Adu Tiero out of Arkansas. Tiero's taking the everything but the shot archetype to the next level this season for Arkansas. He's been an absolute menace driving toward the rim, and nobody has been able to stop him from getting there or finishing at the basket. Tiero's also an elite defensive playmaker, generating turnovers and causing chaos across the floor. After taking Yakachonis, Bryant, and Gonzalez with their first 3 picks, adding Tiero gives them a second ball handler and excellent help defender to shore up their wing defense. Combine those 4 with Nick Claxton if they don't trade him this offseason, and it's easy to see the vision of a punishing defensive unit that also relentlessly attacks the basket offensively, especially given Brooklyn's recent run of stellar defensive games in a bright season for first-year head coach Jordi Fernandez. At number 27, the Washington Wizards select Janai Broome out of Auburn. After landing Cooper Flagg with the first overall selection, the Wizards land his primary competition for National Player of the Year in Janai Broome. Broome is an ultra-productive plug-and-play rotation big with a reliable motor. Despite being a bit undersized and lacking explosive physical tools, his mix of play finishing, rebounding on both ends, and capable weak-side shot blocking still helps fill some significant holes for the Wizards. Even if Broome's continued three-point shooting development doesn't quite reach reliable NBA levels, he still offers an interesting skill and tool blend that could pair well next to Alex Sarr, both in the short and long term. At number 28, the Boston Celtics select Jace Richardson out of Michigan State. There's about a 99% chance that the Celtics could look to trade out of this pick. However, that's not what we do here. Boston continues to move forward as a team that has a roster full of veteran assets. Finding the right fit will be the key focus moving forward, especially for a team that will need to find cheap contributors as they keep the big guns together as long as possible. Michigan State freshman Jace Richardson has become one of the more intriguing prospects in this class. Richardson has been extremely efficient throughout the year despite heavy minutes. As the year has gone on, Richardson has continued to stand out with his feel for the game and ability to make winning plays. His most recent outburst against Oregon is going to be a game that scouts will circle back to in the days leading up to the draft. For a team that looks for players who play the right way, Richardson would be tough to pass up here. At number 29, the Phoenix Suns select LeBaron Philon out of Alabama. It's been a bit of a rough patch for Philon during conference play as his shooting percentages have gone down significantly during Alabama's run over the last month. And yet, he still continues to provide value and fill the box score in other ways, particularly on the glass, creating steal opportunities and making plays for others off the dribble. Philon is a walking paint touch, and he's able to use quick first step and better than advertised handle to get downhill and set up opportunities against a collapsing defense. Before a stretch of poor shooting, Philon showed great touch on runners and shots inside of 10 feet, along with the ability to hit shooters off kickout passes. Philon still needs the jumper to round out his offensive arsenal, but he brings a lot to the table when it comes to playing an unselfish brand of basketball that's built on doing the little things to win games. At this point, the Phoenix Suns could benefit from having more of those types of players on the roster, regardless of the futures of Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal. And at number 30, the Los Angeles Clippers select Boogie Fland out of Arkansas. The Clippers are going to close out the first round by taking a swing on Fland, a shifty and creative ball handler with real shot-making talent. Fland can get to his spots with ease, using his handle and craft to create opportunities for himself and others. He's a confident pull-up shooter with NBA range and an elite off-ball threat in spot-up situations. If he finds daylight beyond the arc, it is as good as in. However, his lack of elite burst and vertical pop limits his ability to pressure the rim consistently, often forcing him to settle for pull-ups. When he has gotten to the basket, the results have been disastrous, converting just 36% of his attempts at the rim. His lack of strength is a major hurdle against NBA length, and there are real concerns about whether he can develop enough counters to make up for it. Defensively, Fland is a competitor. He moves his feet well and gets into ball handler shirts at the point of attack, showing flashes of pesky on-ball defense. But at his size, NBA teams will hunt him in mismatches, and his ability to hold up in that setting remains a question mark. There's risk here, but at this point in the draft, the Clippers are willing to bet on his shot-making, skill development, and pedigree. If he can improve his efficiency and find ways to stay on the floor defensively, Fland can carve out a real role as a scoring guard at the next level.